Hi, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome. My name's Lorne, host of the show. How you doing? Hi. Just wanted to say hello, really. It's been a busy old week as far as the channel is concerned, but a lot of it you're not going to see for a little bit. Some of it you will see because I've managed to get it turned around. So Brian Campbell is now live. Luke Thomas is now live. Our interview with Sean Cray is going to be rendering as soon as I finish this live stream. We have our interview with Cronenborg, which I need to get around to finishing and then rendering and uploading. We also have, let me think, because everything's a bit tenuous at the moment. The last few interviews I've done were the ones that I had finally penciled in. So there's no one that I've got a dead cert interview lined up with at the moment that I'm aware of. So it's going to be one of those situations now where we get to I've got to fiddle with the volume because I don't know if you've noticed, but this shiny new microphone is fucking brilliant. It really is. It's so clear and crisp, and look, it's on an arm. Now those of you who aren't 10 aren't going to be entertained by that like I am, but my god, I can't tell you as a podcaster and as now a live streamer the pure unadulterated joy I have in being able to sit comfortably in my chair, knowing that I can move the mic to accommodate me, not the other way around. Hello, Charlie. How are we keeping, sir? Appreciate you joining me. I'm interested to know as well, how am I coming across? Do I sound okay? And do I look okay? Because the other point of this live stream, I'll be brutally honest with you, is I think I have finally figured out the problem with my fucking internet, which caused all of my previous live streams to drop. So it's one of those situations where I just wanted to see, like, can I get this to work? Because one of the things that I've noticed is that with the interviews, there are some guests who would probably prefer to go live, but I don't offer the opportunity to do it because I just don't have I don't have the confidence to say we can definitely go live, because I don't want the interview to be packed in because my internet sucks. And there's definitely guests who just prefer to be recorded. And that's how I prefer to work, because then I can edit around any mistakes, any issues and stuff like that. So I think we're doing okay, though. I'm watching the live feed that you're seeing, which there is some delay. So I'm just going to wave at myself now. So you, Jem, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. But yeah, it'd be nice to be able to have this, because what I'm going to try and do, this is how you can help. If you're watching this live, hi. If you're watching this after the fact, you can still help by doing this. One of the things that I've discovered recently is that the chain from one person to another is usually better struck while hot, in so much as the Brian Campbell interview followed almost immediately after the Luke Thomas interview, because Luke was gracious enough to text Brian and say, hey, listen, you should go on his show. He's a good guy. And so what I want to know from people is, who do you want me to try and get a hold of? Because one of the things that I'm happy to do going forward, because the Luke Thomas interview was a culmination of about 2 years of chasing. There are a couple of interviews, especially those among you who are battle rap fans, who know I've been chasing the Shotty Horror interview for basically since I started this channel, or rather the interview series. Lunacy is another one. Let me think. Commander Sterling is another one. Who else? There's probably a few names that I'm just blanking on right now. But these are people who, for one reason or another, I just either can't get hold of them, or I can't seem to find the angle to make it work. But what I'd be interested in is people that I'm not thinking about who you think would be interesting. One of the things that I've discovered as well is that when people come to me and say they'll do the show, is that they've checked out maybe one or two of my interviews and they like what I do, which is lovely. The trouble is getting it in their hands in the first place. So John Nash and Kid Nate. Right. I will have to look into who they are. Appreciate the suggestion, David. I appreciate it very much. But this is what I'm saying. Offhand, don't know. But it's one of those situations where maybe I will look into John or Kid Nate and discover that actually, no, they seem like fascinating characters. I'd really love to talk to them. It'd be a really fascinating opportunity to learn and grow my horizons. Because one of the things that I've also discovered interviewing people is the amount of stuff that is not known to you, even if you're a fan of them. Tony D is an example of that, where researching him was insane. Because one of the things I found is that he's just so tenured And I knew he'd been around for a minute, but the fact that he's done so many different things, and you go, wow, I now have all this stuff to talk about. This is something as well that I feel like I bring to the table, and I hope you guys appreciate it when you watch my interviews, is I genuinely do try to find something that you've not seen before. One of my regrets in some of my interviews is when you hear the same canned answer that's been given on other interviews. And I'm sure if you watch one of my interviews, the chances are you were relatively interested enough in the person to have watched other interviews of them. So when you see it, you'll see what I see, which is, I've seen that before. Come on, give me something new. So one of the things that I try to pride myself on doing is watching those interviews and doing my research and trying to find angles into different things. It's even easier when I don't know what the person does or what they're known for, because I usually come at it from a fresh perspective, but I still like to have my research in. So there's two names. David, I really appreciate it. John Nash has done a ton of research on the finances and contracts of the UFC. He was on Morning Combat a few times. And Red Wolf has turned up. Red Wolf, sir, appreciate the interview again. It was one of the better ones. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm going to start chopping that one up and sending out the segments at some point. You'll also get a shiny new thumbnail. I'll come back to the names in a second. You may have noticed, not only have I upped my audio game significantly, granted, I am also going to be updating all of my thumbnails. Every single piece of design that you see on the channel is going to get updated. So going forwards, you're not going to have this problem of me basically splicing a picture of the best quality picture I can find of a person over the same backdrop every single thing. I'm going to try and make it look a little bit more interesting. I'm going to try and update this as well. The music I mentioned, some of the MMA fans of Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell have both expressed a how long will I be streaming for? I don't know. I mean, how long? This is the thing. I'm not a live streamer, so it's something that I'm going to have to think about doing on a regular basis, I suppose. But it's one of those things where I'd love to have someone just to help chair it with me. I don't know how long I talk for before I start to sound like nails on a chalkboard. I'm getting distracted. Thumbnails. But the thumbnails are going to get updated. All of the graphics are going to get updated. All of the calligraphy on the channel, everything is going to get updated. So hopefully everything will look a little bit more interesting, a little bit more professional. All of these background graphics that you're seeing around you at some stage will get updated with customized ones, because these were ones that I kindly stole. I didn't steal them. They let you use them, but you have to give them a shout out in the comment section of the video, which I do in every single one of my videos. Also the audio, as I was mentioning before, the MMA fans of Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell both referenced the fact that they don't like the music in the background. They would prefer a podcast only version. So I will plan on, specifically for MMA, I don't know if this extends to battle rappers and actors, writers, football coverage and that sort of stuff, but I'll try and accommodate, or maybe even try and find a hosting platform for podcasts. That might be something that I would look to do. It really depends on whether or not people would want it. If you want it, I'm more than happy to provide it. This is the thing. I would like to try to diversify the content to as many people as possible. So if people want to listen to it without having that music in the background, that's fine. I'm happy to clip myself out of it. You might have noticed with my segments, I try and clip myself out of the beginning and the end of the guest's answer to make sure that you're only seeing the guest as much as possible. Hence why you also don't see me live streaming too much, because I don't know how interesting I am by myself. I try to put the guest front and center when I interview them, because I figure that the people tuning in are interested in the guest, not necessarily me. And maybe you'll stick around for an interview or two afterwards, but unless it's along the same vein, you know, I appreciate that people probably aren't going to be so inclined to tune in. So coming back to the name, so John Nash is done. So I might have heard of John Nash in that case, and he's been on Morning Combat a few times, so that's interesting. Video on my weight loss? No, because I don't know how useful my insight on my weight loss would be, to be honest with you. For those of you that don't know, who tune into this, my weight loss has gone backwards and forwards from a number of different years, but the most dramatic would probably be from the pandemic, basically. I was 21.4, 21.5 stone, something like that. Got back down to about 13 stone during that sort of 12-month period between March of when we were all sent home and then probably a little bit more than 12 months. It was about April, May time when I first started going back into the office, and people were like, whoa, fucking hell, fatty, fat, lost some weight. And I was like, well, you know, I've got nothing to do. But I tend to offer insight to people in the gym In fact, a young man today, I was in the gym in the middle of the day because I had some stuff to do in the afternoon, and one of the things that often gets me is the natty thing. I don't know if anyone else goes to the gym and has that natty conversation with people like, oh man, natty or not, or whatever it is, and I'm like, I'm a bit old for that conversation because I've never even smoked a cigarette, let alone taken a drug, let alone taken a steroid. So when someone says to me like, you look pretty good for a natural, I appreciate the compliment, but I also appreciate the fact that real units, fuck you. Stone is what it is. I think I do it in either stone or kilograms, but in pounds, I think it's 205 pounds is what I'm, a little bit less than that, I think. 202, 203 pounds at the moment. And so at my most, 20, so it's 8 times 14 is the difference then. So that was the most. I'm about to say about 200 pounds now. I think I was at my biggest, I was about 290, 300 pounds, something like that. So Tevia's tuned in. How you doing, fella? It's been a while. It's been a minute. I've got to learn from you. You do way more of these than I do. So I appreciate you dropping in. There's people messaging me. So this is what I don't get about live streams, is that I don't know how to contend with these in real time, because it's just that thing of I lose the tangent of what I was talking about, and I was talking about the channel originally. So, and I also hate live streamers that don't acknowledge their audience. Like, the chat's there, like they're there. Talk to the chat. So, how's my day going? It's going wonderfully now that you're here, sir. It's been long. It's been a long day. I actually did a full day's work, went to the gym, and then did an evening socializing. Ugh, you humans. I can't. And it's wonderful to see you. Like I say, it's good. It's good. What was I going to say? Oh, so the channel. Yeah, the reason you're here. So what I wanted to say was, I had an idea. It's an idea the other day about how I can reach out to maybe more prominent members of the acting community, in the music community, in sports, in journalism. Basically any. It's not a foolproof idea. I don't want to stress the fact that I'm going to have Conor McGregor or Brad Pitt on next week. But what I'd be really interested in is some of these names. And yeah, I'm hearing that it was bad. In fairness, I think, isn't it true that the lead actress was on a press tour recently, and she shat all over the writing of the movie. So when your lead actress is shitting over how the movie was written and presented, it's probably not a good omen for the movie itself. But if you like it, you like it. Fair play to you. But yeah, as far as guests and stuff, what I'm finding is that some of the people that I'm after are a bit limited, because I'm a bit limited in my fandom. So again, I appreciate the suggestion of John Nash and Kid Nate, because it's one of those things where I need new names to go after. One of the names that I was given originally was Genesis Elijah. I'd never heard of Genesis Elijah before. The name was suggested to me. And it's one of those situations where, great, okay, I'll look into it. And Genesis ended up being a really great interview, because his music is fascinating. He's really interesting. And it's one of those situations where I got to learn a lot about someone I'd never heard of, which meant I was able to dive into it and hopefully generate a bit of enthusiasm coming in. And it's the same with battlers. There's a lot of battlers that I come across now where it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I love learning about new people. But it would be great to know who you... Because again, you specifically, you watching this, because my audience is one of those things where I probably know you. You probably know who you are. And I'd like to cater more to that. And if the audience grows as a result, great. It's nice to be able to cast the net a little wider. But at the same time, I really want to focus on making things good. I want to make things that are interesting and hopefully worth your time. The thing that frustrates me, and the reason I do what I do, is I see a lot of podcasts, I see a lot of guest-driven content, I guess you'd say, and it's just dross. It's just banal, rubbish chatter. I appreciate that, man. That's really, really kind. As far as the battle rap culture, it's that's what the interviews have kind of done me the biggest service, is that I feel really embraced by the battle rap community. So much so, it's interesting hearing that my name is banded around group chats. That's what you call them. I'm not in group chats, so I don't know what they are beyond, I think we use them for WhatsApp. But like, the fact that my name is bandied around and people have said, oh yeah, I've heard of you, you do this, don't you? And it's like, yeah, how do you know that? It's still kind of a surreal thing to me. I will say one thing, it's really, really funny at how battle rap events, the two I've been to, everyone's like, whoa, you're much bigger in person. I'm like, thank you. I don't know what's like. Bobby Rex, I'll never forget, went, fucking Rizzler, look at you. You look like you take a man down. He's like, I was like, I don't really know what to do with that, Bobby Rex. Please don't hurt me. Like, I'm just kidding. But Bobby Rex is a really nice guy. So when he compliments you so aggressively, it's so funny. It's really good. But yeah, I mean, about rap specifically, I mean, I'm always open. I've approached a number of guys and said, you know, hit me up. Like, I'd like to think battle rappers deserve the same platform as some of the people I've got. I mean, for instance, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, I think Luke Thomas is up to about 150,000 subscribers and a couple of 100,000 followers on his main channel. You know, History Buff's had 1 million subscribers. Tifo's got 1 million subscribers. These are big platforms whose guys have really extended. Al Snow is another one who, again, it's fucking mind-blowing. I got to talk to him. But battle rappers is crazy because I look at them with the same skill set. I look at them with the same reverence. Again, when I got to interview Shuffle T, Tony D, US battlers. So that's an interesting question. There was a guy, I forget his name now, but he reached out to me at one point. He's entirely a US based battler. I want to say it was something like it's like Big Bro or Bear Bro or something like that. He's in my DMs. I'll have to check it out. But Anderson Burris was one I was looking at trying to get a hold of, given that Gas Buff recently battled him. So I figured, given that I've interviewed Gas, there's an in there. I just haven't had a chance to reach out to him yet. But US battlers, it's tricky because, again, you want to be able to make the connect. So with battlers, man, Shuffle T was the one. Like, because Shuffle T got me the interview, let me interview him, and that was completely cold. Like, he had no idea who I was, and just, you know, it was just one of those things. I did him, and then Soul said yes, and then Tony D said yes, and then Bison Briggs said yes, and it goes sort of from there. The Americans that I've approached, I think the only one that I know I've approached for sure was Myverse, and she did at one point say that she might be able to have time, but that just sort of fizzled out. That happens with these interviews. I want to be clear on that, by the way, because of the Shotty thing that happened last year. It's perfectly normal for interviews. I mean, if I told you guys how many interviews have fizzled out, even though there was a possibility they'd be on, you'd be like, man, it seems like you never get interviews based on the number that you should have gotten. It is legitimately hard work sometimes maintaining motivation when you get told yes a lot and then it never happens, or you get told no a lot because you're working on growing the platform. But it really does make, when you get an interview through the door and it's great and it's good and it's like, fuck, this was interesting to sit through, so I can only hope it's interesting for you to listen to. It's one of those things where genuinely I really appreciate the opportunity when it's extended to me. Sean Cray, the most recent one, for instance, God bless him, gave me an hour and a half of his time. And he had to, like, right, I've got to go, man, because I've got my missus waiting for me for Valentine's Day. And it's like, fuck, man, you should have said I'd have cut the interview short an hour. But he was generous enough to give me his time and to really give me some insight into his history. But as far as American battlers are concerned, I've got no compunction with... Please do. Oh, man, I'd be ecstatic to talk, because this is the thing. I'm not as familiar with the US battle rap scene, and it's one of those things where I want to get more people in from that side of things. Charlie mentioned Jake Hanrahan and Al Snow. So Jake Hanrahan was an interesting one because I just happened to catch him on a day off. If you follow Jake Hanrahan, he's effectively a war correspondent for his own publication. That guy bounces all over the world, and he tackles some really dark stuff and some really violent subject matter. So the fact that he deigned fit to come on my channel, and the first question I ask him, I waffle on for about 10 minutes, and he goes, actually, it's a good question, but I had no idea where the fuck you were going with it for a minute. It just helped break the ice a little bit. But he's another character. I only encountered him because of the Joe Politics show. As a matter of fact, the host of that, I approached him for an interview at some point, and again, it's the thing where he said, well, maybe we'll kick the can down a little road. And Ollie Dugmore, there's his name, I knew it was there somewhere. And Al Snow was another one. Al Snow said he'd come back so long as the interview does well, and it's one of those things where I'll keep pushing it and keep segmenting it, because Al Snow is a great guest, but Al Snow might lead to other wrestlers. Professional wrestling is one that I've tried to broach a couple of times. And it's one of those situations where professional wrestlers, though, I feel won't be suited to my platform. I like to go deep with my questions in so much as I like to understand the why of a person. it's difficult for a person to maintain kayfabe when you're describing the why, when you're really trying to share something genuine about yourself. But there's part of me that still wants to do non-kayfabe interviews with professional wrestlers because I have such a respect for what they do and an enjoyment for the craft. But then there's also part of me, and this is something that Gas Buff might be able to help me with, maybe a few other people, where it's like, okay, if I got to do this, maybe I can do it in kayfabe. So, like, what's the angle? What have I got to sell? What have I got to move into? So maybe, we'll see. Let me have a look. So I came across your channel and you tapped me into the doc. So here's the thing, right? So this is why I'm glad that you brought that up. For those of you who haven't watched that documentary by this chap on Shotty Horror, go watch it. It's bloody brilliant. Honestly, all of my research pales in comparison to that in-depth and that almost analytical breakdown of his entire career. Not only in through a step-by-step blow for blow, but just adding absolute magnificent insight along the way. I can't tell you how helpful that was to my research. So big shout outs for that. I'll have to find the link and resend that because it really was brilliant. And as far as getting the interview, so listen, as far as Shotty Horror and Lunacy, by the way, are concerned, both of those are interviews I'm not going to give up on until I'm told no. Basically, I'm not going to give up until one of them or both of them both go, listen, I've got no interest in doing your show. Because here's the thing with it. I am convinced I can give them both the best interviews of their career. And I know that they've done a lot of interviews between the two of them. They've done interviews with their mates. They've done interviews with platforms that really revere them. They've done interviews with platforms that want to just showcase their music or just want to talk battle rap. Because I'm going to focus on them and their entire career arc and their motivations, but I'll do it in a way that hopefully shows some respect and allows them to open up a little bit about the why, not so much the where and the who, and a lot of the sort of the more overt nature of battle rap, which sometimes does fixate on the more superficial aspects of things. I really do think I could give them the interview of their lives. And I don't say that lightly because I'm not always qualified to say that, considering that some of the guests that I've had on, I will admit I was not the best person to interview them, but I did my best. The Shotty interview is one that I've been prepping for basically for 2 years. You'd see it, I posted my research notes in case if anyone else gets the opportunity to interview, because this is the thing, I don't want to hold anyone back. If I can help anyone get along in their pursuit of making content, I want to fucking do it. I want to help out where I can. I want to contribute where I can. Battle rap is one of those things where I feel like I want to contribute to them in some small way by just showcasing battlers in the way that they should be showcased, which is legitimate performers with a ton of upside. And as far as Charlie's comment, I don't know if it's necessarily dead in the sense that people can't buy into it. I think oh gosh, it's not Zack Ryder. What's his goddamn name now? I forget. He's called Zack Ryder to me, but I know that's not his name anymore. But he did a great job on the indies maintaining his new more raw mannerisms. John Moxley is another one who I think maintains kayfabe pretty well. Darby Allin is one who I think maintains kayfabe relatively well. It's just, I get the idea that it's the idea of going to anyone and saying professional wrestler, it's fake. No. Again, I have this conversation with people quite a lot where it's like, no, you're looking at professional wrestling through the wrong prism. But this is the thing. Professional wrestling is something that I would love to get in the door with, but it's that thing of, right, how? Al Snow was one. Matt Cardona, there you go. And I'm only writing so much as that there are people that I think can genuinely make you feel that their personality is what they are in the ring. And maybe that's kayfabe, maybe that's just them being themselves. But as far as allowing a wrestler to feel like they can appear on my show is that thing of maybe I've got to try and placate them. Maybe I've got to be a bit more aware of kayfabe being something that is valuable to them. So it's that thing of, okay, well, maybe I've got to rejig the interview a little bit to play into that. Who knows? But so we've got two names there that I am going to research after we're done. That's good. Keep them coming. Again, if you have ideas, leave them in the comments section. Leave them on my videos. Leave them on the channel, on the community page. Tweet me. DM me. I don't mind. My DMs are pretty much open to anybody. I don't exclude anyone. I will make sure if you send me a DM, I will respond. It's one of those things where I really want, now that the Luke Thomas interview and hopefully the Brian Campbell interview are going to push me over the top in terms of the watch hours and the subscriber limit that I need to get to the base level of monetization. I really want to push on now. I want to get to 1,000 subs. I want to get to 4,000 watch hours. I want to be able to monetize the channel with advertisements. I don't want to have to gatekeep any of my content. If I have to, I suppose I'll have to. But frankly, I feel like the support that you guys have given me warrants the respect back, so that when I'm able to, say, oh, this is just for private members, this is for the highest subscription. No, fuck that, man. I hate that shit. If you're subscribed to my channel and you watch my stuff, you have as much right as anyone. And anyone that does that is fair enough to them. But I want to be able to get to the bit where I can monetize and advertise using YouTube. Make YouTube fucking earn their money as far as I'm concerned. But in order to do that, I'm going to need to diversify the guests, and I'm going to need to make sure that I've got a good line to the people that want to watch them. So please, anywhere you want to send me suggestions, anywhere that you want to say, man, you should get this person, get this one. This might sound like a weird thing as well. I've had exclusively dudes on my show. I'd like to change that if at all possible. I had a couple of people. I've had a couple of people lined up. Like I say, my versus one. There was another wrestler who we just couldn't make it work for whatever reason. There was an actress, Anwen Bull, who I was talking to at some stage, but she's got a lot of projects on at the moment. There were a couple of musicians, but it's a weird one where I'm like, I've just interviewed you so far. I'd like to get a more diverse guest list, to be brutally honest with you. Across all genres, across all platforms, across all media things, because I'd love to get different insights and perspectives. I think it's going to make me a better interviewer. I think it's going to make the channel better because it's going to have a plethora of different opinions and standpoints. So, pet peeve about pop culture. Pet peeve about pop culture. Do you know what it was up until recently? It was music samples. It just seemed like every music song seemed to be sampling something that existed. But to be honest, dude, that's the young man in me. The old man in me remembers that every song in the 90s was sampled after something in the 70s and 50s. If you want to see sampled, dude, My Name Is from Eminem is pretty much ripped wholesale from the Shifra. Yeah, it blew my mind when I heard that. The other one, and I knew about this for a long time, was the Next Episode, because that's I've forgotten both the name of the artist, but it's on the GTA 4 soundtrack, and I heard it and I remember going, this must be like someone took the song and played it in low orchestral. No, it's an original jazz song that Dr. Dre basically ripped the complete sample of and put in the background. So you go, that used to be my pet peeve, because it was me thinking that artists of today are being lazy. No, they're just using a tried and trusted method of being able to use something that works, basically. Pop culture, pet peeve. Probably the use of hyperbolic words for everything. Let me ask you a question for everybody watching this. How many times in the last, 24 hours, have you just heard something described as iconic? Right? Just something. Person, band, football team, whatever, right? Iconic. For me, iconic is something that is emulated or copied by a horde of people. Like Elvis is iconic because there's Elvis impersonators out the arsehole. And if you were to put a silhouette of Elvis or just a hair or just a suit, you'd go Elvis because it's iconic. And then you hear an artist that's a year old who is incredibly niche be described as iconic, and you go, I don't think you know what that word means. It's a bit odd, but there you go. Charlie is playing a fucking blinder today. Do you know what? You're basically my co-host. You understand that? You're in the comments, but you're basically my co-host today. So thank you, Charlie. If I ever make any money off this channel, I'll be sure to cut you a check. Sizable. 10, maybe 15 pence. Who knows? But yeah, that would be my biggest pet peeve in pop culture, is this idea that everything has to be the greatest thing ever and hyperbolic. And I just think, do you know what, man? There's nothing wrong with middle shelf. Like, gaming is the best example I would get to that. The best period in gaming history for me was that Xbox 360, PS2, PS3 generation, when there was the Halos and there was the Modern Warfares and there's the FIFAs, But there was also middle tier games that were just good for a 10-15 hour blast, and you were done with them, and that was that. But it was great because you got to compare and contrast libraries. You know what I mean? Whereas these days, it's everyone's on Fortnite, everyone's playing Fall Guys, everyone's playing whatever it is in a Royale sense or on an online sense. It just doesn't leave a lot of deviation for gaming experiences or passing through the generations. Like, it just feels like, I don't know, it feels like the rush to be legendary. You don't have to be legendary. I'm not legendary. This channel's not legendary. But I don't care. I love what this channel represents. Hopefully it represents something to you too, which is that I want to do things a little differently. I want to put some thought into things. I don't want to do things for the sake of doing them. That's why live streaming is something that I don't do, because I don't know if I'm necessarily good at it. To disclose something, and this is what I'll do to wrap up this live stream. I'll leave you with a little something. I'll offer you something. This is cherry on the cake for sticking with me. I am attempting to sort out a couple of different podcasts. These are projects that are nothing to do with the Halcyon Show. I am involved, but only in so much as I will produce them. I will maybe help host them, but most of all, I will help contribute to getting them over the initial humps of what it takes to start a channel at a certain level. It took me 3 or 4 years to get my channel to the level that I wanted it to be. If you go back and look at my earlier reviews, for instance, it was just me in a chair in my room with some graphics spliced into the foreground, and then I had to hope my head didn't get in the way of it, basically, because otherwise it would clip into front of my head. I got the green screen. I then got a lapel mic, better software, better hardware. Stagnated for a little bit, and then I started deviating onto other channels. I've appeared on Defunct Games for a number of years, and I hope to appear there again one day. But then I finally stumbled on the interviews, and the interviews are where I found my home, and it's that thing of, okay, cool, let's go, let's do this. So you might see me appearing with a few other things, but you will probably see me pushing a couple of these projects as and when they come to fruition. I guess you'll have to wait and see on that one. But anyways, I think, how long have we been going for? There's a timer around here. 32 minutes. God bless you for sticking around for 32 minutes. I spoke for 32 minutes and I just rabbited. So, to summarize, new thumbnails, new graphics, better audio, better sound, the occasional live stream, who knows? If this is something you'd be interested in me doing on a regular basis, cool, let me know. I'll try and make sure I actually have something worthwhile to talk about each time we hop on. Otherwise, feel free to just chat and we'll hash it out. We'll have some fun. And as soon as I have the next set of interviews lined up, I'll be sure to let you know who they are. I'll try and make them exciting. And yeah, I just want to say, for everyone that tuned in for this, Charlie in particular, because you goddamn helped me co-host, you jammy bastard, thank you so much. Rap Redo as well, for the suggestion that American Battlers, please do. I look forward to hearing about who and when that might be happening. Yeah, the Shotty Horror interview, I will keep plugging away at it, I promise. And the names... where were they? John Nash and Kid Nate. I shall begin my research and I will begin my attempt to try and reach out to them. And do you know what? Sod it. Charlie, David, Red Wolf, Tevya, Rap Redo, all of you, thank you so much for tuning in. Anyone that tunes into this after the fact, I hope you enjoyed listening to me waffle on for half an hour. I appreciate your time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more interviews. And I guess I'll see you on the next episode of The Halcyon Show.